Hi, this is Dr. Frank with the Church of Rational Truth. Today we're going to talk a little bit about living within your means, and this is kind of like one of the financial talks that we've given. They say one of the best quotes is the key to wealth isn't having great wants, but it's having few needs, and that's really important because really it's not about necessarily spending a lot of money and flaunting your wealth. If anything, the people who have done well with finances have done quite the opposite. They've lived very meager lives. They don't spend a lot of money. If you look at Warren Buffett and a lot of the other super rich financial guys, a lot of times they get there by cutting costs, cutting overhead, and not spending extravagantly. He used to have a thing where he would go and get like an egg McMuffin every morning for like $1 and use a coupon with it. A very cheap and easy breakfast, even though he's a million billionaire. He tons of money. He barely spends any of it, and that is because expenses, saving on an expense is the same as making extra money. If I save $1, that's the same exact as making an extra dollar. So the less you can actually spend on your daily living expenses, the more you can save, and you can really rack up a whole lot. Sometimes it's a lot easier to save a couple $100s a month than to make an extra couple $100s a month. So what does this mean in real life? Well, a lot of this, they gave the great example of when I was going through med school, is in making a coffee costs you less than $1 versus going to Starbucks and buying a coffee is $4 or $5. Saving that every single day adds up quite a bit over a year. That's going to be a couple $100, maybe even what, do the math, $1,000 or so in a year if you do that every single day. Things like living in simpler housing if you can, where you downgrade to something, a smaller house or a smaller apartment will save a little bit. Things like watching how much you go out and spending money on food, huge monthly expense, and you can save a ton buying in bulk and using small amounts rather than eating out. Eating out can be, 5 times as expensive for some things. So doing those things can really add up over time. For me, I try to live pretty meagerly. I don't spend excessively. I only spend money on the things that I really enjoy, even though I do know I have the money that I could do that. That helps me put the money that I do have towards other things that are going to get better investments over time. Because an expense that you spend money on, that money is gone. You get no return on that investment. Versus if you save $5 or $10, yeah, it's not a lot, but that money is still going to gain you money over time. $10 saved is going to get you, you know, not a dollar, but a little less than a dollar every year that you save it. So every little bit of that over a lifetime can really add up a whole lot, and that's how you get long-term wealth. That's how you get generational wealth. Is that you put that money that you would have been spending on little luxuries, you save that and then use that money to get yourself into a better position long term. And I would also say for people who are wanting to retire or wanting to put away a little nest egg, living very frugally makes that a lot more simple. You'll need a lot less money to live that same lifestyle. And honestly, I'd like to talk to people about what does really make you happy. What are the things that you're spending money on, and how much happiness are you really getting out of them? And then pick and choose the most economical things. So, one example is if someone likes video games, yeah, you might be able to spend $60 on a video game, but it's a one time expense, and you might get a lifetime of happiness from that video game. Versus going and eating a nice dinner might also be $60, but that's a one time fleeting happiness. You're not getting that over time. It's not a really great happiness investment. Now, both of them are expenses, but one you can withdraw a whole lot more long term happiness out of. So sometimes you have to kind of pick and choose and use that to determine what is an efficient use of your money to get the proper amount of happiness that we need. This isn't to say live completely frugally and not enjoy anything. We all need to enjoy life. We should probably spend on some things. But I think making wise decisions and trying to be mostly frugal and only spending a little bit more extravagantly on things that are going to get us a lot of happiness helps you in the long run, especially if you're financially limited. If you don't have a whole lot of extra income, you need to be much more frugal. Even people who do have good money, the people who get rich and who have a lot of money, they usually are very frugal. We'll use good words. They usually are seen as cheap because they are saving all their money. They're not spending it on unnecessary luxuries. They're not spending it on Gucci purses and very nice fancy cars. Usually they get an economical car, things that are not going to lose a lot of money, and making everything as a wise investment, and really holding off on really fancy or expensive purchases unless it's something really special or something that's going to mean a lot to them. So hopefully you all can take this into account with your spending, with your budgeting, and try to live a somewhat meager existence in an attempt to save the money for the long term, because it really does add up over time. That's it for this lecture. I'm Dr. Frank with the Church of Rational Truth, signing off.